All right, we're going to now begin with the next panel. Please sit down. Our next panel discussion is panel 3A, the ripple effect, workers, workplaces, small businesses, and the regional economy. This panel will center the impact immigration enforcement has had on our workforce. Again, folks, let's please quiet down in the room. This panel will center the impact immigration enforcement has had on our workforce. You'll hear testimony regarding workers, workplaces, small businesses, local industries, customer activity, and job instability. Each panelist, y'all have 5 minutes each. The timekeeper is to my right, so please keep an eye on that so we can ensure that everybody has an opportunity to speak and also for us to ask questions. We're gonna hear from Amara Armenta, researcher expert at UCLA Latino Policy and Politics Institute. Daisy Gonzalez, campaign director from the Garment Worker Center. Rudy Espinosa, president and CEO, Inclusive Action for the City. Eddie Navarrete, executive director, Independent Hospitality Association. Jose Mondragon, director of Systems Change and Worker Voice, Building Skills Partnership. Armando Guido, an LA worker from LA Worker Center. We'll go ahead and start on this side with Amada. If you would kick us off, please.
Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Amada Armenta. I lead the UCLA Latino Policy and Politics Institute, and I'm faculty at the Luskin School of Public Affairs. I'm also an academic expert on immigration enforcement, and here to share results about research that LPPI has been doing with our partners at Inclusive Action for the City, documenting the economic impacts of the June 2025 ICE raids on small businesses in Los Angeles. Most of our respondents are immigrant business owners, and most are Latino, and they represent over half of all small business owners in Los Angeles. These businesses include street vendors, food trucks, restaurants, salons, flower shops, small retail, micro businesses that are woven into the fabric of our cities and are really what makes LA special. These are also the most undercounted businesses and business owners when it comes to traditional research. So our research documents economic impacts of ICE raids in 2 ways. First, we used anonymized mobile location data to track foot traffic in retail locations in neighborhoods where there were ICE enforcement actions. And some of this research tracked foot traffic in Westlake, downtown, the Valley, and we found that retail visits decreased up to 10% just based on this data alone. So we know that this is an undercount because the people that are captured in this kind of data are the most economically advantaged customers. So we paired that with focus groups and surveys of affected business owners that we talked to with the help of organizations like Inclusive Action for the City. We spoke to 84 business owners across 9 focus groups, representing businesses all over LA County and all the kinds of businesses that we imagine Latinos and immigrant entrepreneurs owning. The economic damage that these business owners describe to us is severe and profound, universal across every measure, across every question. All business owners reported being economically impacted by ICE activity. 82% described these impacts as major. 52% lost more than half of their income. Business owners reported changes to operations. 64% of businesses shortened their hours or closed outright after the raids. Many began working behind locked doors. One business owner put it this way: I would look outside and you wouldn't see anyone. And even my employees, although they are documented, they weren't coming into work either. It felt like the pandemic. It was just as bad. Another business owner shared, my children didn't want to go outside, even though they are citizens and I'm a resident. Street vendors described stopping working for months at a time. A caterer described having all of these June 2025 graduation events lined up and losing over $5,000 on merchandise because every single person canceled their event, and now she has a garage full of June 2025 graduation activities. Food businesses lost thousands of dollars in unsold inventory that went bad. One restaurant owner described her restaurant being down $30 a month in revenue. A furniture store owner described taking on over $100,000 in new debt. Business owners also described health impacts, psychological impacts. One described having to be hospitalized because of spikes to her blood sugar that she couldn't control because of stress. 2 respondents described experiencing facial paralysis. One described being diagnosed with colitis. One respondent shared that she drank alcohol for the first time after years of hard-won sobriety. People described anxiety, depression, and fear for themselves, their families, their workers, their children, and their communities. And several also lost family members to deportation. So the damage from last summer's enforcement activities has not healed, it is compounded. Nearly a year later, 93% of the businesses that we spoke with are still operating at a loss or barely breaking even, carrying the double burden of sales that haven't fully recovered and operating costs that keep increasing. They describe taking on thousands of dollars in new debt, maxing out credit cards, and spending down savings that they had built over generations or over decades. And they have done all these things not to grow their businesses, but simply to survive a crisis that is politically constructed. So I thank you for the opportunity to put on the record that the real threat to our safety, our health, and our economic well-being is not immigrants, it's immigration enforcement. Thank you.
Mr. Mondragon.
Good afternoon. Buenas tardes. My name is Jose Mondragon. I'm the Director of Systems Change and Worker Voice with Building Skills Partnership. BSP is a California-based nonprofit advancing economic mobility, workforce development, and systems change for workers and their families in low-wage, essential industries. We were funded through a unique labor management partnership with SEIU United Service Workers West, also known as SEIU USWW, and responsible employers. BSP, we leverage our reach through our union partnership. Who supports more than 50,000 workers statewide in an industry through partnerships and collaborations. Again, these are workers who power our California's economy, janitorial, airport workers, and security officers. As an organization, we serve more than 6,000 workers and family members annually across Los Angeles, the Bay Area, Sacramento, Orange County, and San Diego through our holistic worker center model that integrates career advancement, community support, and policy advocacy. We were funded originally to support janitorial workers, many of whom are immigrants and low-wage essential workers who have historically faced limited access to advancement opportunities, education, and economic mobility. What began as a workforce development model rooted in the janitorial industry has then evolved into a broader strategy for advancing job quality and economic inclusion across multiple sectors. Central to BSP's approach is the understanding that economic mobility cannot be achieved through workforce training alone. BSP takes a holistic approach to worker advancement, recognizing that professional success is deeply connected to personal and family well-being. Today, we're here to testify to a simple truth. Immigration enforcement is disrupting the workforce that keeps Los Angeles running. The reality is clear, and for many of our members, the ICE operations we witness in our neighborhoods and the fear they created through our communities have, in fact, direct and immediate impacts on our members, their families, and their ability to work. These are not abstract policy discussions. These actions have real consequences for the workers who clean our buildings, maintain our properties, and help keep this city functioning every day. Through our focus groups and our conversations that we've had with members, workers have shared directly and firsthand how immigration enforcement has affected their lives. They have spoken about the fear, the uncertainty, and the disruption they have experienced as a result of these operations. The following are direct quotes from different BSP members who share in their own words about the impact ICE enforcement has had on them and their communities. One member says, I am concerned about going to work. What can we do? How do we protect ourselves? Another member says, I feel sad because I came to this country to work. We're not safe, although we have residency, green card. What happens when I go to the store to buy my necessities? Another member shared, we were happy until the raids. These officials are discriminating against us by the way we look. Again, these are direct quotes from our members. It is clear to us that our workers have been directly impacted by ICE raids, and those effects continue to be felt today. As an organization that also provides immigration legal services, we want to highlight that these impacts extend beyond the raids themselves. We are also witnessing, and we want to put this on record, the different changes to our immigration system that is creating additional uncertainty, fear, and barriers for individuals and the families we serve. In 2025, we have observed a profound changes to the U.S. immigration system that are having far reaching consequences to our members across the state. Over the past year, a series of policy changes has reshaped the legal landscape for workers and families who have built their lives in this country, creating new challenges, uncertainty, and barriers for many in our communities. We've seen this through the termination of the humanitarian programs such as TPS, TPS, and the CHNB parole. Many members have lost or are going to lose their status and ability to work in this country. Many members continue to be impacted by the USCIS significant processing delays across all case types. We've seen currently DACA recipients who are being impacted by these delays. And I know I'm gonna run out of time, so I wanna conclude by saying that when workers live in fear and of ICE enforcement, they're less likely to report wage theft, unsafe working conditions, harassment, retaliation, or abuse. Immigration enforcement does not just threaten a person's legal status, it makes workers more vulnerable to exploitation. It also disrupts workforce development and economic mobility. Workers may avoid different training programs, classes, and opportunities because they don't want to come out. Los Angeles depends on immigrant workers every day. They maintain our offices, our buildings, our airports, hospitals, stadiums, and public spaces. They are essential to the functioning of the city. When enforcement pushes workers into fear, it destabilizes workplaces, families, and communities. So today, more than ever, we need comprehensive immigration reform that protects workers, keeps families together, and recognizes the contributions of the people who helps keeps Los Angeles running. Because when immigrant workers thrive, our communities thrive. Thank you.
Mr. Navarrete.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Eddie Navarrete. I am the president of the Independent Hospitality Coalition. I represent a diverse group of independent hospitality, restaurant, cafe owners, market owners throughout the LA County landscape. We started our organization in 2000, so this is at the beginning, 2020, at the height of COVID, in response to COVID. We didn't have proper representation of our community at that time. And it was the beginning of what we call a very long COVID that hasn't stopped yet. It's challenges from each one that has hit us, not only through the struggles of COVID and the impacts that that had on us that literally obliterated our industry, but it was also the fires. It was also the raids that came. It was also the rising costs that came and hit us. And then it was also the fear that our workers had in having to survive in that environment. We haven't had a break. And independent restaurant owners are not like just every other restaurant owners. Independent restaurant owners are family members, mothers, they're sons of a lineage of a restaurant that has come throughout time and time again, and they feel these kids of restaurant owners feel like inclined to have to stay. And something about independent restaurant owners are the employees that they have. This is their family. This is their family, and when you have some loss or someone in your family that is in fear of having to come to work, that anxiety, that mental health impact as a restaurant owner hits you very hard. Amongst the anxiety of having to pay rent, of having to deal with the rising costs, of having to have an Instagram following, of having to have all the things that are hitting you, rising rent that are coming, and from all the things that we have to deal with. And it is really the perfect storm that we never thought LA, or federal leadership would think that this was a good idea. I mean, if we think about taxes and how much taxes a restaurant contributes, we have sales tax, we have payroll tax, we have tax that contributes to, rent. When you pay rent, that goes to property tax. I mean, these are major impacts, not only that, but you're also talking about how we fuel a local economy. We're fueling the valet drivers, the security, the linen companies, the farmers, all the food purveyors that are a part of this ecosystem, not alone just the employees that depend on our little local beacon of economic welfare. And when you destroy us, you destroy communities. And these raids in LA, were just nothing that we could combat against. You as a restaurant owner, they say we're resilient, and we're a resilient community, and we always spring back, and we can pivot, right? That word pivot always became a thing. Well, we couldn't pivot from something like this. It's you. You can't pivot when your workers don't want to come to work, right? You can't pivot when you have that anxiety and fear that just, hits you. And not only that, but just our loss of revenue from tourism. The fear that has hit the international community on people wanting to come to Los Angeles. The drop, I have a statistic, one of the only statistics I wrote down, is that between August and November of 2025, it was reported through an LA Times study that 30% of international arrivals declined. 30%. I mean, I know there's also statistics about California and the drop of international tourism, but we are not being liked by the international community, and LA is a beacon of tourism. We are a major city where people come, and when that hits us, that hits our economy. They also say that, another one of my statistics, is that 60% of all restaurant workers are immigrants, and 79% are Latino. I think that's a significant number. I think that's a number that we need to think about when we consider the impacts of these raids and what they do to our communities and to our economies and to our city and state. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Mr. Espinosa.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Rudy Espinoza. I serve as president and CEO of Inclusive Action for the City. We are a nonprofit community development financial institution here in Los Angeles County. We champion working people. We invest in entrepreneurs, and we work to change systems to build an economy that works for all of us. And I wanted to share that, unfortunately, the administration's current policies are creating an economy that's harming all of us. As we heard and we're hearing, LA County is amazing because of the small business community. The data shows that there's 1.3 million small businesses in LA County. That's a tremendous amount. And the Department of Economic Opportunity, the county's Department of Economic Opportunity, has shared with us that during the surge last summer, our region lost $3.7 million in business losses in just 3 months. The small business community really suffered. We are seeing a significant impact on the livelihoods of immigrant entrepreneurs especially. And we're really concerned that if they're struggling, we're all going to feel that impact eventually. The current administration is utilizing fear as a policy in inciting essentially an informal economic shutdown. At Inclusive Action, we work directly with street vendors, day laborers, landscapers, fashion designers, furniture makers, a whole gamut of entrepreneurs. These are the businesses that have created the economic foundation of Los Angeles. Unfortunately, many of them are telling us that they're struggling. Many of these folks are afraid to work. Last summer, our entire portfolio of microloan borrowers, especially the street vendors, called us and told us that they can't pay their bills that month. Imagine what it takes to call somebody to say, I I can't take care of my family that month. That's what we were experiencing. And our partners, we joined with our partners and we created a solidarity fund to provide cash assistance to them. And we did a lot of good work. We served hundreds of entrepreneurs, but I'll tell you that our list of need is even bigger. As you heard from our colleague, Dr. Armenta, we're working with UCLA Latino Policy and Politics Initiative to do a study to really document the stories of small businesses, and the stories are gut-wrenching. I'm proud of our team for the tremendous work that they're doing to support small businesses. One of the initiatives that we have going on is an initiative called Hire a Vendor that is connecting entrepreneurs to catering opportunities. These are exciting opportunities for the entrepreneurs that we work with, but it's unfortunate that they have to adapt because they're trying to survive, they're trying to take care of their families, they're trying to keep their payroll going. Inclusive Action believes in supporting the most vulnerable entrepreneurs in our region. Immigrant small businesses are the linchpin of our entire economy. It's so critical that we support them. Undocumented workers in LA County are generating an estimated $253 million in total economic output, representing over 17% of the county's overall economic activity. As you're hearing, if they're at risk, we're at risk. And I'm concerned as the World Cup begins here in LA, and the Olympics arrive in a couple of years, that they don't have enough protections. We're taking them for granted. These are the folks that are creating jobs and helping our communities rebuild after crises like the fires. LA cannot celebrate athletes while ignoring the working class comprised of immigrants and the entrepreneurs that we serve. So I'm here to tell you today that these folks that we work with, our community deserves to work without fear. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Gonzalez?
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Daisy Gonzalez. I'm the campaigns director at the Garment Worker Center. We organize with and support garment workers across Los Angeles to improve their working conditions and wages, and really to transform the industry away from exploitation. Garment workers are paid per piece. That could entail 2 to 3 cents per operation on a seam, and so they do not make minimum wages, and it's a common practice in the industry. Our goal is to create a more high-road industry to ensure fair jobs, and we also support high-road employers to seek different resources to make sure that this industry continues to thrive here in Los Angeles. Immigration enforcement has directly targeted Los Angeles garment industry because the first workplace raid was actually in the fashion district. An apparel warehouse in June of 2025 was raided and 40 workers were detained. Some of these workers had been working for this particular employer for up to 18 years. The public that was there was met with dozens of LAPD officers, federal agents in military gear. They deployed tear gas and ran concerned community members out of the fashion district. This sent fear and stress throughout the city, in particular amongst garment workers who work in the fashion district. There's an estimated 20,000 garment workers in the downtown area. The majority take public transportation to work and are, like I said, not paid minimum wage, living in poverty. Many workers chose to stay home for months. Workers fear being detained on the way to work. They fear being detained on their way home, on the job, or even going grocery shopping. Our members constantly speak of the psychological impacts as well as the economic impacts. They fear suffering in detention centers, but also fear how their families will survive without them. Families struggle to locate garment workers after they're taken. Right now, we're searching for one of our members that we heard was detained recently. Their family member got a phone call from the wife of another detained person saying they were sharing a cell and that they were in Oklahoma, and that's all the information that they have. Since June 6th, many garment workers have stayed home for weeks or months. One of our members lost their job after the factory permanently closed for fear of another workplace raid taking place in this garment factory. One of our business allies has had to close multiple times when there's increased federal activity near their place of work to protect the workers. Workers have therefore had to rely on emergency financial assistance to pay for food and rent. The raids have forced worker organizations into emergency response, and factories have also had to adjust. The Garment Worker Center created an emergency fund for detained workers, and We've also been supporting with a food bank once every 2 weeks, and with referrals to other organizations for other needs during this time. We've also trained high road employers and their employees on what to do if ICE has arrived in their place of work. Employers who have not traditionally welcomed worker organizing groups have begun to seek support from the Garment Worker Center. Enforcement has had an impact on the future of Los Angeles manufacturing as well. Factories are struggling to find employees, and with factories hiding, employees are struggling to find work as well. The industry really depends on highly skilled workers with decades of experience. And at the same time, brands are showing renewed interest in producing more garments locally. So raids are creating fear and uncertainty at a moment where Los Angeles can really capitalize on some of the strengths of the garment manufacturing industry. We know that these global events are coming into the city soon, the Olympics and the World Cup, and we've been in communication with the city to ensure that some of those, the merchandise is actually produced here in Los Angeles, and we want to ensure that that merchandise is produced by workers that are making at least the minimum wage, that are in safe and ethical factories. One of the things that we just moved forward with the County of Los Angeles is they're looking to set aside a portion of their budget to purchase goods that are locally manufactured in LA. They have a $8 billion budget that they spend every year to buy different products, and we're looking at how things like uniforms or T-shirts, jackets that are branded with the county's logo can also be produced here. And unfortunately, this is all happening at a time where the industry is struggling because employees are so scared to go to work. Every day we hear of people who continue to get kidnapped by unmarked cars at bus stops or walking down the street, but we will continue to organize with garment workers and the LA community for justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. We'll go to you, Mr. Gudino.
Thank you. Thank you very much to the organizing bodies who coordinated the People's Hearing on Immigration and Enforcement. My name is Armando Gudino, Executive Director of the Los Angeles Worker Center Network, a coalition of worker centers, labor advocates, legal partners, and community organizations working to advance economic justice for low-wage workers, that is non-union workers, which I lovingly like to say, I remind people, is the majority of our workforce, particularly here in LA County, if not across the country. And our work is specifically looking to eliminate something you've already heard here today, and that is the devastating impacts of wage theft, not only on workers, but by extension, families. And I thought that my time would be better served by providing a little context on what the state of our low-wage workers were going into this period of persecution and enforcement. And, I'd like to start with that, and that is to share with you that you may have heard this already from some of my colleagues, and I'm proud to stand along or sit along, not only everybody here, but Daisy, who is a representative of one of the worker centers of our coalition that numbers 9 members now. Los Angeles loses an estimated $28 to $30 million every single week to wage theft. Immigrant workers are more likely, twice as likely than U.S.-born counter workers to earn below minimum wage, twice. On any given week, more than 50% of Latina workers in Los Angeles are paid less than minimum wage. When it comes down to labor law violations, 88% of workers in Los Angeles experience at least one type of labor standards violation. 80% work unpaid overtime. 80% work through legally required rest and meal breaks. And 30% are paid less than minimum wage. In LA County, 10 million people, that is why Los Angeles is the wage theft capital of the country. It has been for some time. It was before the persecutions began. And when you couple that with LA County also being the homelessness capital of the world, of the country, rather, excuse me. And we now know, thanks to the Latinx the Latinx report on homelessness, that there's a direct correlation between wage theft, the loss of income, and homelessness. You have a trifecta here that impacts immigrants, Latinos, mujeres, under this condition of homelessness and wage theft. It's a devastating scenario, and this was the case before the persecutions began. I reached out to a colleague of mine and said, we're doing this panel, what do you think? And she said, fine, just tell them exactly what was happening before and remind them that it's now worse. It is now worse. Low-wage workers, ladies and gentlemen, lose approximately 12.5% of their annual take-home every single year. That is roughly about, we estimate, somewhere around a month's worth of salary. Now, these workers were already in survival mode. Today, they're in just bare existence mode. So I want to use the remaining time to reiterate something. The LA Worker Centers Network was focused on providing opportunities for capacity building, infrastructure support, a variety of different mechanisms that will support worker centers who are in turn supporting these workers that are being exploited. Today, we ourselves have had to alter the way in which we operate because we need to support the worker centers who themselves are in survival mode. We have seen a substantive, measurable change happen with worker centers who are saying, we can't keep up. We're experiencing a situation where worker centers themselves have become the targets, not just of threatening letters, but staff who are under threat of whether deportation or just under threat by the administration in general. So what do you do when the worker centers who are responsible to help this already highly exploited group of people, again, non-union, low-wage workers that represent the majority, what do you do when the worker centers tasked with that are no longer themselves in a sustainable operational manner? So when we look at the mitigating, when we look at the now catastrophic impacts that has taken place, we are offering this as a reminder that we have a point of departure by which we can develop continued assessments. We knew that these statistics existed. We knew that LA was the wage theft capital of the nation. We knew that that leads to homelessness among all people, but particularly Latinos, particularly Latina women. And with that, I want to thank you very much for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you. We have time for one or two questions.
I wanted to, well, first of all, thank you all so much for your testimony and for bringing facts to the table. What do we do? What is your recommendation on how we address some of these issues? And that's a question for the whole table. Go ahead.
Thank you. One of the things that for us at the Los Angeles Worker Center Network, along with our colleagues, some of who are here today, one of the things that we've actively been pursuing for the last couple of years is to ensure that there's adequate reforms within the government infrastructure to pursue, in the case of Los Angeles, all labor law violations, which, believe it or not, being the wage theft capital of the nation, City of LA has its own Office of Wage Standards, and to date, they still don't pursue all labor law violations. They only do a certain select type. And we've been actively fighting, advocating that it is imperative that the city take on those responsibilities, not only because there's a necessity to fulfill the gaps being created by the administration, but because the law allows you to do it. State law allows you to do it. So I think there still requires a lot to be done to push local agencies like the City of Los Angeles, like the Office of Wage Standards, to take on, absorb additional responsibilities that include going after offenders who, by the way, we know who they are. You heard from Clean Car Wash. You've heard from others here. You've heard from the Garment Worker Center. They're all being impacted. But behind those scenes, there's already been decades of catastrophic impact on those communities.
Underline what my colleague is saying about local and state policy. I didn't share this in my remarks, but one of the big campaigns that our organization worked on with many other groups is an effort to legalize street vending. So my personal career, almost 20 years has been dedicated to bringing people out of the shadows. And we've passed local and state policy that has legalized street vending in Los Angeles and throughout California. Now they're afraid, they're going back into the shadows. So last year, we worked with Senator Durazo to pass Senate Bill 635 to protect the data of businesses that were getting their permits. We need to think about local and state policy that protects small businesses and makes their life easier. The other idea that I'll suggest is we have to think about how we get capital to them. How do we get resources to them? And it's grant capital, but it's also low-interest loan capital to help keep their businesses alive and keep their businesses thriving. And so right now they're really struggling, and so I think we have to take all our tools out of the toolbox here. And so for us, it looks at its policy and its capital tools.
I'd like to just add on to that too. I think policies could not be more important right now. We need to offset these impacts by doing what we can with local jurisdictions and getting people out of their homes and making it feel like it's safe to go outside again, to making it feel like it's okay to not just have to order in all the time, but they can actually go outdoors and meet their neighbors. I feel like we're living in an environment right now where we are just trying to push people to stay more indoors, be on their phones, be at home, and order in. How are we going to get people to actually interact, and how are we going to get people to experience the arts and culture of Los Angeles and that power that we have as a community, as the beacon of tourism? I think that we need to explore on getting people to have more street activity. We need to talk about entertainment zones. We need to talk about making less red tape for restaurants. They're paying way too much for unnecessary process. I mean, all these things add up, but how are we going to recognize as a city, as a state, what we're doing to small businesses right now by over-regulating them? We need to offset these impacts, and we can do it. We just got to show, I think we just need to recognize that it's needed.
Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for your advocacy. We're ending this panel. We're going to take a 4-minute break and then resume with our last panel of the day. Thank you.